What's up, nerd family? Welcome once again to the Poindexter Lounge. My name is Enosh, aka Enosh Fett, and with me today is
Isaac Juan Kenobi.
And today is a cool day because over the weekend, Isaac, we actually got some information finally from Zack Snyder himself about what the heck happened with Justice League. That's right. So Zack Snyder this last weekend, he had a kind of his own little convention where he he showed the director's cuts of some of his movies, Watchmen and Batman vs. Superman and Dawn of the Dead. And in doing that, he did question and answer sessions after those movies. And of course, this is the first time that he's done something really public since everything went down with Justice League, the death of his child and having to step down from that. And then, of course, Joss Whedon taking over. And so he's been throwing out these little hints and these little blurbs and stuff online now for months and months and months. And of course, everybody wants to see the Snyder cut of Justice League because people don't know what the heck they want. But we finally got a little bit of answers and pretty much a lot of just verification of what we already knew about this movie. But what we're going to do is we're going to go down the list a little bit about some of the revelations that were brought forward this weekend and just talk about them. Now, you can find the live stream on Vimeo, I believe it is. And then, of course, it's popping up all over YouTube, so you can find it there, too. And I've watched any. Have you watched any of this, Isaac?
No, I just found out about it today.
Okay, so I watched some of this and some of the questions. It's kind of disappointing because people have an audience with Zack Snyder finally. And they're some of these people are asking like a bunch of really stupid questions. Like, we want to know as DC fans, like, what happened with Justice League? What happened with Batman versus Superman? And I got people asking like weird questions about like Spider-Man and questions about like a jacket or something. I don't know. It's so weird. But anyway, so let's break down, Isaac. What do you got for us here first?
This was the original plan for the first Justice League.
So the original plan for Justice League.
It says Darkseid defeats the League. Darkseid boom tubes into the Batcave and murders Lois. Superman succumbs to the anti-life equation. And then the surviving Justice League members of Flash, Batman, and a broken cyborg try to time travel to alter the past.
Okay, so let's break that down a little bit. Zack talked about, because he was asked about what the original plan was for Justice League before.
It sounds like this was like part one is what it sounds
like.
Yeah,
so what came out was that he didn't actually film him and Chris Terrio's original vision of the movie. Because he said that they actually finished writing the script for Justice League about the time that Batman versus Superman was coming out.
Oh.
So they already had a plan of where they were going. But because Batman versus Superman was met with some backlash, which I loved because he calls it the what was he called it? The vocal few or something like that. Basically stating that, you know what, in reality, the movie did really well.
Yeah. And the Ultimate Edition made me like it even more than I already liked it.
And I believe that over time, I think time is going to be very good to Batman vs. Superman and Zack Snyder's vision over time. It's just that I don't think people were ready for it. I honestly think that people they were not ready to see those characters and those stories yet on screen, and they wanted some kind of fluffy, lighthearted stuff, which is fine. Hey, I like it all, but but he said that basically once they were met with some backlash from Batman versus Superman, it kind of scared them a little bit, and it kind of took down their confidence that they were going to be able to pull this off. And of course, Warner Brothers also, put up some red flags and started getting involved, which is part of the problem.
Yeah.
Warner Brothers needs to let their directors do their thing, make their movies, stay out of it, let it happen. But they didn't, so all of a sudden they started doing rewrites. Got a version of the movie that basically he said he did film that. He said most of it was there and that they filmed it, but there were a lot of things that they dealt with that didn't make it into their final version. And then, of course, tragedy struck. he had to leave the project, which was basically a way for Warner Brothers to get him to exit the project and bring Joss Whedon in, and then the movie just kind of collapsed from there. But we talk about go back to some of the stuff that we talked about. So one, Darkseid defeats the League. So it was a three-parter.
Yep.
It was a three-parter, and he talked about how Darkseid, that they didn't just win.
Yeah.
Right? That we would get the Justice League first part. It would end though introducing Darkseid. Now, how do you think, Isaac, that it would have maybe turned out differently had we gotten Darkseid at the end of Justice League 1 to introduce a Justice League 2 where it says that they would have gone to Apocalypse and actually taken on Darkseid at Apocalypse and lost with the help of the Green Lantern Corps?
Yeah. At first, because all I heard was like Darkseid was supposed to show up, and I was like, I think they should kind of like save him as like a Thanos kind of character for like later in the DC universe, like when the DC universe is starting to get to its conclusion. I thought they should have saved him for that, but after hearing the ideas that Zack Snyder had for it, then I was like, okay, I think that would have been a really good story to see.
Yeah, I think a lot of us diehard fans who are DC fans, and we keep meeting these diehard DC fans. I tell you what, for all of these outspoken people who are like, Batman vs. Superman sucks, and Snyder sucks, and blah, blah, blah. I don't know. We keep going out to these movies, and we keep going out and talking to the public, and we keep running into a whole lot of people in our live stream and other places. Yep. People who really actually appreciated Batman vs. Superman and Justice League for what it was. And anyway, so I digress. But so the thing was they were supposed to be defeated at the end of part 2, which was going to set up this part 3. And I love this because Zack Snyder talks about, everybody harps on him and goes, oh, what was all that, that Flash stuff in Batman versus Superman where, the Flash comes back and he's talking about Lois and blah, 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 blah. Like, that was stupid. They didn't finish that off and everything. Well, that wasn't Zack Snyder's fault because Zack Snyder comes right out in the live stream and says, look, I was going to pay all that off.
Yep.
That was all going to pay off because the third part was going to be this post-apocalyptic world because they were going to come back to this world on Earth like the nightmare scene that we see.
Yeah, with Batman and... and then ended up going back to Flash after.
Yeah, because he said it was going to be a ragtag group of what was left of the Justice League.
Yep.
And Cyborg was going to be basically like half a robot.
Yeah, right here it says, and a broken cyborg.
Yeah. And that they were going to time travel. So that's the last thing on there. The surviving League members of Flash, Batman, and a broken cyborg try to travel and alter the past. And this was cool, too. Because they talked about that they had actually come up with this weird time travel thing where it said that you only got 2 windows because the Earth had to be, and I love this because I've never heard this idea before, for time travel. Because if you think about it, he talked about if you time travel, you have to be in the Earth has to be in the same spot that it was in before. Because if you just time travel at any time, you're going to time travel out into space. Because the Earth moves.
Oh.
See, now you just had the exact same reaction that I had to that. And I wonder what you guys think about. Let us know what you guys think about that in the comment section because
that is true.
I had never even thought of that being a part of time travel because we just think the Earth is stationary. Yeah, I mean, we know that it's a globe, right? We're not flat earthers, right? But so we just think that, we don't think in those terms.
Yeah, you don't think every day that, it keeps on moving.
Yeah.
You just think that it keeps spinning.
Yeah, so if we time travel from where we are right now in the universe, in the solar system, we'd be someplace else.
Yeah.
And so he said that was part of their thing was they were looking for these windows, and that there were 2 windows, and the one window Cyborg had sent Flash back to warn Batman and tell him because what else do you have on there about Darkseid doing?
Darkseid boom tubes into the Batcave and murders Lois.
So that was part of it. Was that the Flash was coming back to tell him Lois is the key because Superman basically loses it. Batman was entrusted to protect Lois and he failed, and therefore
that kind of sounds like injustice almost.
Yeah, well, because the other part is Superman succumbs to the anti-life equation. So he's manipulated and he's controlled by Darkseid. And so all those pieces that were just left out there because they were never fulfilled because of Warner Brothers getting involved and because of what happened, it all would have made sense. But the thing is, this is good storytelling, just not allowed to finish.
Yeah.
You know, we were talking to some people at the Shazam movie, some guys there, and you'll see them in one of our other videos, and it was just a great conversation because we were talking about how, like, these DC movies, they've got some great, deep storytelling.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, Isaac, you're a teenager, and of course, you've grown up around me and everything, and so grown up with DC stuff. But I mean, how do you feel about DC storytelling as compared to maybe even Marvel story? And I don't want to do this like a versus Marvel kind of thing, but I mean, like, what do you think of DC storytelling? When you hear this kind of thing, where like all these things would have paid off. You would have had this whole thing where the whole nightmare scene would have made a whole lot more sense with Superman being mad at Batman because Superman was controlled. But it was just foreshadowing, you know? Yeah. And we would have had this big epic third movie where it goes, oh, you know, like that's what happened. And Batman, I guess, even says to Cyborg, he says that Batman says to Cyborg in that third movie, he says, well, where do you want me? Cyborg asks, where do you want me to send you? Right? And he says, well, where was the first place that you thought you should send me? He goes, well, yeah, that first time with the Flash. And he goes, well, don't send me there. Send me someplace else, right? Because it didn't work, right? And he only got a little glimpse of it. So it was the Flash trying to break through. It wasn't just a dream. It wasn't some crazy thing. So I'm sorry. So what do you think of that? When you hear all these pieces were going to come together?
Well, I kind of feel more on the DC side because I know more about like the comics of DC.
Uh-huh.
And like hearing about this, it feels like all these different like comic book storylines coming together, and they're bringing it all together just to make like one giant story.
Yeah.
Which, from what I know about the Injustice story, I really like the Injustice story, and this sounds pretty close to it.
Yeah.
With all the Superman stuff. And one thing I've liked so far that they've done is they've kept it true to the comics and like shown stuff that we don't really normally see in the comics. Is they brought those stories out in the DC movies so far. It's just a lot of information just to like.
It is. It's a lot that's there, and the thing is we talk about it a lot, that people a lot of times instead of seeing DC for what it is, this rich information that's there, they just dismiss it.
Yeah. Because
they don't understand it. But this would have been some great stuff. Now, show me what else you got here that we were going to talk about.
Okay, so it says Part 1, Steppenwolf arrives on Earth and is defeated by the Justice League. Boom tube opens and they're met by Darkseid. They realize there's a bigger threat out there, which we kind of got in that movie.
Yep.
Except we didn't get the Darkseid stuff. We just got them, Steppenwolf coming and them defeating Steppenwolf.
Yeah, because originally Darkseid was actually supposed to come down and like basically grab Steppenwolf out of it and reveal himself.
Which after hearing all this, that would have been cool.
Oh, it'd been sweet.
Part 2, the Justice League takes the fight to Darkseid on Apocalypse, teaming up with the Green Lantern Corps to face him. Unfortunately, Darkseid defeats them and heads to Earth to turn it into a nightmare world from BVS.
Yep. So there you go. Again, it would have all come to fruition and made sense.
And it says Part 3, a final stand against Darkseid set on the Nightmare Earth.
Guys, we were cheated. We were totally cheated. Now, as much as I love these last few DC movies, because we just saw Shazam, and oh man, Shazam is so good. I mean, and this is not, I think that this is like literally, man, I love Man of Steel.
Yeah.
Because Man of Steel is a great Superman movie for me. But this movie was just a ton of fun. I mean, and some of the reveals, there's one reveal in the Shazam movie that I think is the most satisfying reveal that I've seen in a movie because it was like, are they, aren't they, are they, ah! Right? And I just kind of lost it. But to have missed out, it would have been so nice to have seen this play out and then move on to something else. Yeah. Because, I saw an article that talked about, if Warner Brothers had just left things alone, and let Zack finish it all out, it would be finished right now.
Yeah.
We would have gotten all of this, we would have seen all of these movies, and they could have gone on to the next thing. And it's, to me, it's really unfortunate. It's unfortunate that we didn't get this kind of story.
Yeah.
You know, and unfortunately, we got what we got, which was one Justice League movie with its legs cut off.
Yep.
And now everybody's clamoring for this Snyder cut. So let's talk about the Snyder cut a little bit as our last thing. For those of you who don't know, Zack Snyder had to leave the movie. Joss Whedon finished it, and so people feel that there is a version of the movie that is done or mostly done that was.
And plus, from the trailers, I remember one thing saying after Justice League is I was like, wait, that scene from the trailer wasn't in it. Like with Alfred, how he's like, oh yeah, he said you'd come. Hopefully you're not too late.
Yeah.
'Cause we never got like those kinds of scenes.
Nope. There's a lot of scenes that were dropped, and Snyder talked about that at this event, and that being said, so one of the people at the thing, I was really disappointed that like nobody just came out and asked, is there a Snyder cut?
Yeah.
I mean, he kind of said that, yeah, there's like, you know, a few different versions, whatever. But so one person said that they got to ask in the line whether or not there's a Snyder cut. Only problem with that is it's hard to, if you don't have video of it and you don't have actual proof, you know, the internet is kind of 50-50 on this guy because he was there, but you know, like anybody could just say, well, yeah, I was in the line and I asked him and he told me that, yeah, there is a version that it's just, he says that there is a cut of the movie that Snyder has finished and that Warner Brothers has, but whether or not Warner Brothers releases it, you know, is yet to be seen. I believe, you can tell me what you believe, Isaac. Isaac, do you think that there is a Snyder cut at this point?
I don't think there's a finished version, but I think that there is.
Okay.
Because of him having to leave early, I think he still had like the ending like planned out, but he didn't get to end up finishing it.
Yeah.
So and when Joss Whedon stepped in, I think he kind of like finished like the end of it and put in his own stuff.
See, I'm having a hard time with even believing the fact that there's like a cut of the movie that is that far along.
Yeah.
And I get it. Like, I would love to see it because look, I've said all along, fans don't know what the heck they want because they complained about Snyder for about 3 years because, oh, I don't like his Man of Steel movie and I hate Batman versus Superman and he's doing Justice League now. It's going to suck. Whatever, guys, because now all of a sudden they didn't like the end of Justice League because of Joss Whedon and WB's interference, and so now it's all, let him finish the movie. What do you want, right? I mean, so, but the thing is I think that at this point, even if there is that, I don't know that I believe that we'll ever see it. You know what I mean? Now, stranger things have happened, right? Stranger things have happened. We know that Richard Donner never got to put out his version of Superman 2 back in the day, and eventually they got around to releasing a Donner cut of the movie, and that's pretty much the cut that you see now on sale pretty much everywhere, even though we all grew up with the original. And honestly, I know it's not a popular opinion, but I prefer the original because the Donner cut's not finished. To me, it takes me out of the movie because I grew up with one thing and just I know that movie in and out. It's my favorite Superman movie, and so when you have these scenes that weren't finished and go back to like the casting things with Christopher Reeve and Margot Kidder, it just takes me out of it. And so but will we see that one day? I don't know. The problem is nowadays it's not as simple as just throwing a scene like that back in because there's all these digital effects that have to be done, and there's money that has to be poured into it, I think, to even get it to a place where it's, you know, releasable. So who knows? But I just have a hard time believing that even if it is there, with the new direction Warner Brothers is going, with Aquaman being successful, Shazam being successful, Wonder Woman being successful, and they're kind of moving in this new direction, I just don't see them going back.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't really make much sense for them to go back. I think now would be like beating a dead horse almost. You know, to keep going back to that, even though it's done. You know, like bringing it up and saying, hey, remember this, guys? Yeah, remember this stuff that was like really frustrating to you? Here's this again. Don't worry about the cool new stuff that you really like, you know. And so I don't know that it's worth it, you know. I would love to see it though. I know that a lot of you guys would love to see it as well. So this is some really interesting stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know. Any closing thoughts on just the whole thing and you know that we finally have some answers on it?
Yeah. I'm glad that now we know like what the original plan was, and now we get to like think about it, like how would the fans reacted if they would have known this at the beginning.
The speculation.
Yeah.
The speculation. I do like too, and I'm sorry, I've said this for a while, and I will say this: if you find the Snyder event online, it's got a lot of language in it, but he says something really funny because he addresses the point of his Batman killing, and we have talked about this a lot, and I've talked with him about with friends and everything else.
Yeah, so have I.
That you know, whatever he says, and I got to play this for you because it's very colorful. He goes, people are coming up to me like, Batman kills? Like, Batman doesn't kill, and I'm just like, and I'm just being nice, but he's like, F that. He just says that this is, you know, he's like, look, you gotta get past that, you know, like if you think your heroes don't make any mistakes and they're just perfect and whatever, you're living in a fantasy world. And you know what? I'm not saying that our heroes have to be, you know, these horrible examples or these horrible people, but I think he's right.
Yeah.
And I think that there's enough precedent, and I know everybody disagrees on this. I think there's enough precedent though for the fact that, you know what, a version of Batman can kill.
Yeah.
When needed. And I think that this Batman was not just your typical Batman. This was your broken Batman. And they kept what I don't understand about when people don't understand that is that they put it right out there.
Yeah.
They said this is a weathered, broken, older Batman who's seen some stuff. This is a post-losing Robin Batman.
Yeah. Normally when someone brings up Batman, that's normally what I think of as like a Batman who isn't perfect. He's gone through stuff. He's gone through stuff that's changed him, and he's trying to change other people's futures, like Damian Wayne or like Tim Drake.
Yeah.
Because of what happened to Jason Todd.
Yeah, constantly trying to make up for it, right? And constantly failing. Yep. And people, I think, forget that in the comics, there was this time, man, where Batman, he was just messed up. He was messed up in the head. After Jason Todd.
And The Dark Knight Returns.
Yeah. Well, you know, The Dark Knight Returns was never a canon thing. And so I get it when people complain about that and they say, well, that wasn't really canon. But this, you know, the what is canon is that Batman was pretty messed up for a long time after Jason Todd, and the whole angle with Alfred trying to get him to accept Tim Drake, and you know, and just everything that happened after that, and then, you know, finding out about his son, and you know, his son is basically a brat for the longest time, you know, and I mean, it's like there's a lot of stuff that Batman had to deal with, and so I think too, when you see a young, fresh Batman who's idealistic and, you know, whatever, that's fine too. But I think that there's room for both versions, you know, and just like I don't have a problem with the fact that Superman snapped Zod's neck.
Yeah.
It happens, right? I mean, you know, like I don't know, and I don't understand why. I guess my thing is, and I'll just say this in closing, I don't understand why we pick on Zack Snyder. Because Batman's killed in other movies. And I haven't seen this huge backlash. I literally have a friend who refused to see Batman versus Superman because of this, yet he loved the Michael Keaton Batman. Makes no sense. Michael Keaton Batman killed several people in between those two movies. And then, you know, and then people complain about Superman killing, but Superman killed it wasn't maybe as violent and graphic, but stuff happened. And so I don't know, it's a really interesting thing that in our modern day, you know, this guy makes these really great films, and people have just torn him up. But you know what, I love the fact that I watched him in these videos, and basically he just doesn't care. He's like, hey, I made my movie, I tried to make Justice League the way I wanted to, and I did what I did. But hey, What do you guys think? Let us know down in the comments section. We would love to have a conversation with you about this. And don't forget, this month, our giveaway in celebration of Shazam coming out on April 5th, of course, is a Shazam action figure. So please let us know what your favorite part of any Zack Snyder DC movie is. All right, and of course, if you all you got to do to qualify to win the figure is to like this video, go ahead, subscribe, hit notifications, and leave a comment. All right, you can also find us all over social media. All that information is down below. We want to hear from you. All right, don't forget our live streams. We will be live streaming, even though the Flash will not be on at 8 p.m. Eastern time on Tuesday. We will be live streaming to talk about some of this stuff with you guys, because lots of cool DC stuff. All right, guys, until next time, my name is Enosh, aka Enosh Vet, along with
Isaac Juan Kenobi,
saying, man, if there is a Snyder cut, we do want to see it. So release it one way or the other. All right, guys, until next time, bye-bye.
So if you've made it this far into the video, thanks so much. We're so glad to have you here. Please make sure to like this video, hit subscribe, and as always, hit the notifications bell so that you know when we put out new videos, which is like all the time. Thanks for coming along for the ride. We hope you're here for more.